Hey, my name is Thomas, and today we're gonna have a look at the almost brand new 7Artisans 50mm f/0.95 super fast, über-fast portrait lens for your APS-C camera, and I'm using it on a Fuji X-E3, and I'm really curious about this lens, so let's have a go. So this is the second of a series of 3 0.95 lenses that 7Artisan now is producing. The 35 was the first, and this the 50, and then also a 25. They came both in 2012. The 50mm that I'm holding here right now, it's a fairly basic design. It's only 7 lens elements, which is not a lot for a 0.95. It's very short, very wide. It has a 62mm filter threads, and it's pretty heavy at 420 grams, I think, something like that. So it really feels you have a lot of heft in your hand. The optics, I said they're maybe a bit basic, but as you also can see, the whole lens barrel is just filled with glass, and I'm really curious how good it will be. In terms of bokeh, we've got a 13-bladed aperture, so clearly 7Artisan thinks of this as a portrait lens, because the advantage of such an aperture with a lot of blades is that you always get a sort of circular bokeh balls. The sun stars maybe for night shots will be not that good, but as I said, they focus on bokeh here. Speaking of which, the bokeh looks very traditional, which I personally like. So you get rounded bokeh balls in the center of the image at open aperture. Towards the corners you see it become more a triangular shape, and that's because of the geometric distortion, and also there's some chroma going on. Of course, this lens isn't optically perfect at open aperture, but yeah, we don't expect that, right? So as I already pointed out, this lens has got a 13-bladed aperture, and they did it to make a really rounded of bokeh balls even when you step down a little bit. But in terms of sun stars or aperture stars, this is maybe a little bit too much, because if you've got an odd number of aperture blades, that means that the number of rays in your sun stars, they actually double. So 26 pointed sun stars, it sometimes works, but if you want to just do night shots in the city, this is maybe not going to work out so well. Mechanical feeling and finish, in that regard this lens is very, very nice. You got a nice metal finish, a very smooth focusing ring, clickless aperture, which I personally don't like so much. I'm a photographer, I like my clicked apertures, but also the aperture ring feels very smooth in your hand. You get a very nicely anodized lens mount. Also the black finish seems very rich and supple, and real engravings. These markings and all the letters and numbers are not just printed on, they are engraved. That again adds to the feeling of high quality. This lens really doesn't feel like a 250 euro lens. It feels much more expensive than that in your hand. So that's a very nice thing. Image quality, let's start with resolution, and as expected at open aperture it's actually decently sharp in the image center, but there's a lot of glow going on, some sort of chromatic aberration. You get this violet halo around the bright contrast edges. If you step down a little bit to f1.4, f2, you see a huge increase in quality there, and also the corners and the edges of the frame are sharpening up nicely. And then at f5.6 to f8 you get a very, very capable landscape lens. I'm not sure if you're gonna buy this to take landscapes, but if you're on a travel and you have only 150 with you, it's well worth to know that you can take very, very great landscape shots as well. So overall the performance is as expected. Soft wide open, but very, very good step down. And of course, despite it being a little bit soft wide open, you can still use it for a lot of creative purposes, and it's a very nice portrait lens. Stray light performance, as usual with all these fast lenses, there can be some struggle. If you have the sun close to your frame, you will maybe see some rainbow effect or some other color blobs and stuff in it. Nothing outrageous, really. All these fast 50mm lenses sort of perform the same here, and even the classic vintage 50mm lenses from Nikon, Canon, or even Leica, they also showed the same effect. So I wouldn't call it perfect. On the other hand, I personally like these effects. Sometimes you can use them in an artistic way, but this is of course not a wonder in stray light performance. Distortion, that's actually one aspect where this lens is struggling a little bit, maybe expected from a 0.95 design. I found that you really see the distortion in your shots unless you compensate for it, and this is a fully manual lens, so you have to do it yourself in post-production. There are no electric contacts that tell the camera to correct even for JPEG, so it doesn't matter if you shoot JPEG or RAW, you have to compensate for yourself. And I found that, for example, in Lightroom I have to enter +18 or even +12 to compensate for distortion, which is a lot for a standard prime lens, but again, as expected from such a fast design maybe. So I really enjoy shooting lenses like that. This is, you know, these fast standard prime or slide telephoto prime lenses, portrait lenses. I love it. You can throw so much out of focus. You can really separate one subject within your frame and everything else becomes a nice blurry bokeh, just a shade of itself. So I also enjoyed shooting this lens, the 7Artisan 50mm f/0.95, and I also really appreciate the fit and finish. But before I give you a final verdict, as you might know, I also own the TT-Artisan 50mm f1.2 lens. I made a review about that lens a couple of months ago, and I actually have to compare the two. I mean, the TT-Artisan, it's much cheaper. This one is around 200 to 250 euros new. The TT-Artisan is maybe 140, 150. It's also a little bit smaller, a little bit more lightweight. So yeah, it's also got a little bit less aperture, of course. But I really think I should do a direct comparison between the two. Before I give you a final verdict, is it worth to spend the extra on this lens, or should you just go with the TT-Artisan maybe instead? So that's it for today, actually. I hope you found this useful and interesting. If you did so, then please leave a like. Also consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so yet. It's a great help and support for my channel, and many thanks to all you guys who already subscribed. I really appreciate your support. Also hit the small bell button so you get a notification whenever I upload my next video. One of my next videos will be this comparison between the 7Artisan and the TT-Artisan 50mm lenses. So yeah, I hope you have a great time, live long and prosper, stay healthy, and I see you in the next video. Bye.